Is Grounded 2 worth playing? For those of you that only came here for the answer to that question, I'll give it to you in a few seconds. All I ask is that if you appreciate me answering it right up front, like the video, hit subscribe, and leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji, as it really helps my channel. So the answer to the question, is Grounded 2 worth playing, is absolutely yes, if you're a fan of the first game, or if you're a fan of survival games. If you're playing it on Game Pass, it's a no-brainer because you can just try it out, and even if you're purchasing the game, you're going to get more than your money's worth for the $30 asking price at launch. For those of you that want to learn more about the game before deciding whether or not to play it, stick around as I'm going to talk about what's similar from the first game, what's different from the first game, what I liked, what I disliked, and a couple of things I would like to see changed. I'll leave timestamps for each of those sections down below. Before I jump into the full review, I have to let you know I was provided a code for the game from Xbox. I was not obligated to make this video or any other content about the game, and I am free to say whatever I want about my experience so far. So first things first, I want to let you know that all the footage in the background is going to be B-roll from the first hour or two of gameplay. I'm not going to show any cutscenes, anything related to the story, and honestly, I'm not going to talk about the story at all. I want you to experience that for yourself. So if you're worried about spoilers, there's no worries there. I'm just literally going to talk about the things I mentioned before without talking about the story at all. So the first thing I want to talk about before I tell you what to expect from the game, what's in the game, is performance. And I can only speak for myself here, so performance may vary. I know a lot of times when reviews come out before a game releases, the person reviewing it will say, oh my God, the game ran great, or oh my God, it didn't, and then the complete opposite happens at launch. I can only speak for myself here, and with this game being an Unreal, it really depends on your system. I played the game on Steam via PC. I played almost 30 hours, so I'm at 29.9 hours as I record this, and I've had no performance issues running it at 2K 1440p, 165 FPS, and on all epic settings. I had one crash, and I'm pretty sure the crash occurred when I was closing the game out. So the game ran pretty flawlessly for me on PC. Now, again, I have no idea how it's going to run on consoles. You guys will have to let me know in the comments down below so you can share with each other whether or not it runs similarly as well on a Series X or S or on a mid to low range PC. So what can you expect in terms of the amount of content at launch? So one thing I talked about in the last couple of months in videos during live streams and stuff like that was, and this was before I even knew I was going to get an advanced copy of the game, was I was not going to rush through Grounded 2 at launch just to try to pump out as many videos as possible. I wanted to enjoy the experience, and I was going to play through it casually, and that is what I've done. I've had the game for about 10 days now, I think, 10 or 11 days now as I'm recording this, and I've put about 30 hours in the game. It's 29.9 to be exact, so that's about 2 to 3 hours a day for the last 10 to 11 days. I played through the game, and this is going to be a full review as I have completed the entire story. So just to let you know my experience, it took me just under 21 hours to complete the final main story quest, and I completed most of the side quests in that time. Now, I did this completely casually. I spent time building, I spent time exploring, I did not speedrun it. So you may or may not finish it faster, you may or may not finish it slower, but there is a giant chunk of content here compared to the first game. If you remember the first game at launch, it was pretty bare bones. There was a couple of burgle quests, and then it was kind of just a sandbox to go around and explore. You are going to get far more in this game at launch, so that's why I said I recommend it right now, even at the $30 asking price. I think you're going to get more than enough time out of it, especially if you enjoy survival games and if you like the original Grounded game. Next up, let's talk about what is going to be similar in Grounded 2 to the original Grounded. So these are going to be things that when you see them, you'll recognize them if you played the first game. This is not a 100% exhaustive list, but I think it's the main things that are worth talking about. So first and foremost, there's going to be your typical survival mechanics. So you're going to have to manage your hunger and thirst, your stamina, and your health. There is gear durability, so your weapon and armor will have to be repaired over time. There is raw science. Raw science has made a comeback. Raw science is going to be similar to how it was in the first game. It'll be in the world where you can collect it. It'll also be rewards for completing quests, and it's going to be the currency which is used to unlock things in the game. There's going to be side quests similar to the burgle quests from the original Grounded. These are more like tutorial quests, but they do go beyond like a basic tutorial, kind of pushing you to craft new things, fight new enemies, explore new areas and stuff like that, essentially just guiding you along the way and rewarding you for your efforts. Mutations make a comeback as well, so there are mutations in the game, but there are far fewer. So I think there was something like 40 or so mutations in the first game, if I remember correctly. It might have been more, it might have been less. There was a lot of mutations in the first game. There's far fewer in the second game. Some of them are the same, some of them are different, but there's far fewer. Milk molars are also in Grounded 2. There are the regular white milk molars and the gold milk molars, and they have basically the same functionality, unlocking the same things, where the white ones are going to give you stat-based stuff, and the gold ones are going to let you increase carrying capacity of different things. There's also going to be mixers. So there's actual mixers, and there's also events. Think of the Spicy Coltana event, where you had to defend the little point of interest there, and you unlock the spicy Coltana. There's going to be stuff like that, and there's actual mixers as well. There are secret keys and hidden chests, just like in the original Grounded game. You can peep creatures, and you can get gold cards. I think by last count, I think I had 5 or 6 gold cards in, like I said, about 30 hours. So I think they have similar drop rates. Honestly, I didn't even know if the gold cards existed because it took quite a while for me to get the first one. But so I think they do probably have like the 1% drop rate. And I don't know if they actually unlock. They might unlock a mutation, honestly, because there is one mutation I have not unlocked, and I don't have a bunch of gold cards. So I don't know if that's the mutation that goes along with that, which would be the Trapper Peeper. Although it might just be a mutation placeholder that that's not available right now. But definitely make sure you peep the creatures, because as similar to the first game, each creature is going to may have strengths or weaknesses, so you want to use the right weapons against them and avoid using certain weapons against them, as it'll be easier or harder to fight them depending on what you're using. There's also going to be boss and mini-boss fights in Grounded 2. I'm not going to go into more detail than that. Let you experience those for yourself. Combat has some similarities in the terms of that you can perfect block, and you're rewarded for perfect blocking, as you will not take damage or durability loss. And there's also the 3-hit combos with most of the weapons, so there's actually bonuses for landing the 3rd hit combo on some of them, depending on the mutations you're using, and then there's also, I think, trinkets that go along with that. You can still cheese mobs with range, so if you are a cheese enjoyer, many of the mobs, obviously the ones on the ground, not the ones that are flying, although I guess you could somehow cheese some of them, but the ones that are ground-based, a lot of times, if you get to a high point where they can't reach you, they'll literally just stand there while you kill them, so you can cheese them or not cheese them. That's obviously up to you and personal preference. There are armor and weapon upgrades, and as of now, I don't think there's a way of going beyond this unless I haven't discovered, as I feel like I've done probably 95% of the content. So just to let you know, I found all but I think like 9 milk molars out of the ones that are currently available. You can't fully upgrade everything just yet. The armor and weapon upgrades, as of right now, for me at least, I've only been able to upgrade 3 times, although I have found upgrade materials for the next level after that. So I guess 4, 5, and 6. It is the same as the original game, where it's going to be marble and quartzite that you're going to use, and I think the cost is pretty similar. There's also candy in the game, so you're going to have your mints, your spicy candy, and your sour candy. I have not seen salt yet, so I don't know if salt exists, but the candy definitely exists. Gear is tiered, so there's tier 1 gear and up to tier 3 so far. That's the highest I found. I don't know if there's any tier 4 in the game right now. Most of the gear is 1 or 2. There are a couple tier 3 items. There are trinkets, which I just mentioned a few minutes ago, or a few seconds ago. Trinkets make their way back. You're going to have some that are, like I said, some that are from the first game, like the Fluffy Tuff. So cut down those dandelions and get yourself the Fluffy Tuff pretty early on. There's also going to be some new trinkets. There's going to be items to collect that unlock things that can be purchased in the shop. So think of turning in your Burgle chips from the first game, and you go to the science shop and you're going to unlock things. That's a similar system here. Instead of Burgle chips, it's something else. You're going to turn those in, and then you're going to be able to purchase the crafting recipes or the unlocks for certain things. There is no weather, at least not right now. There is no weather in the game, so every day you wake up, it's going to be just like the first game. It's going to be nice and sunny with no weather. That may change in the future, but as of right now, I've not experienced any weather. And then there's also going to be a hot and toxic biome, so thinking of like the sandbox with the sizzling effect, or the haze with the toxic effect where you had, or going around like rotten food. Those two exist, not in the same not in the same way. There's not a sandbox and there's not a haze area, but they are used in different ways. So those are the things that I think were most important or most similar to the first game that I thought were worth talking about. So let's move on to what is different in Grounded 2. As was the case with the similarities, the differences are not going to be 100% exhaustive, but they will be the main things that I think are worth mentioning. So first and foremost is going to be Grounded 2 is launching with way more content than the original game. As I mentioned earlier, it took me almost 21 hours to finish all of the main quest and most of the side content in Grounded 2, whereas the original game had maybe an hour of actual content at launch. Next up is going to be there's a much bigger area to explore, so the map in Grounded 2 at launch is roughly the size of the entire map from the original game, and unlike the original game when it launched, which had most of the lower yard, you could actually run around in it. Pretty much all of it except for like the grasslands was empty and really had nothing in it except for grass. That's not the case. The entire area that you can explore in Grounded 2 is going to have content in it. It's going to have resources, it's going to have bugs, it's going to have points of interest that you can run around and interact with. Instead of field stations, Grounded 2 has outposts. So the field stations were like the little tents in the original game. In Grounded 2, you're going to have outposts, which are much more extensive. They're usually going to have multiple rooms you can go into. You can analyze resources in them. Sometimes they'll have the water containers you can drink from. Sometimes they'll have other resources like granola bars and stuff you can pick up. and a few of them actually have beds that you can set a respawn point at or sleep if you need to at night. In Grounded 2, you don't have to go to a field station or a lab to scan for resources. You can actually just open up your Scabby 2K, and one of the menus, when you open up the map menu, you can actually just search for any resource you've already found, and it'll show you where it's available on the parts of the map you've explored. Similarly, you can also spend your milk molars using the Scabby 2K. One of the menus is the milk molar menu. You open it up, so as you're finding milk molars in the world, you can literally just spend or invest them into whatever you want to invest them into immediately when you find them. You don't have to wait till you get back to a field station, or in this case, an outpost. Grounded 2 is going to have mounts instead of pets. Of course, this is one of the most requested features that did not happen in the first game. So the difference between mounts and pets, or in this case, buggies as they're called, is that they do have inventory like the pets did, but they're also going to have the ability to ride them, which you'll be able to get around the map faster. They will be able to help you in combat, and the red soldier ant can harvest resources, including dandelions. It can cut down the dandelions. It can also cut down the grass planks. So if you're trying to harvest resources early on in the game to build your first base, that'll be super helpful for that. Next up is going to be Grounded 2 is launching with no zip lines. Now, the developers said they did this on purpose. They wanted to see how traversal in the game felt using just the buggies that are available or the mounts, and then on foot, just to see what player feedback was. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on, but there's not going to be any zip lines in the game as of right now. Unlike the original game, which had an axe, hammer, repair tool, and shovel, Grounded 2 has an Omni tool, which is those 4 things combined into one. They don't take up any of your inventory space, so that's 4 inventory slots you don't have to spend on those 4 items. Instead, what happens is you unlock the Omni tool pretty early on in the game, and then you'll have to unlock the axe, the hammer, the repair tool, and the shovel feature of them using specific resources. And you can also upgrade each one of those multiple times, which will be needed in order to harvest the higher tier resources as you come across them. Grounded 2 also has new dual wield weapons. So I'm not going to spoil that too much other than the ones you've probably seen in the trailers, which were the daggers. There are other dual wielding weapons, but that's a new class of weapon in Grounded 2. Similarly, there's also going to be new armor and weapons in the game. And some of these are obviously going to be from the new creatures, but there's also new armors and weapons from mobs that were carried over from the original game that did not have their own armor or weapon in the original game. There's also obviously going to be new creatures. I'm not going to go into all those. I've already done a video on all the creatures that were revealed, so you can check that out if you want to see all the new creatures, but there's going to be new creatures in Grounded 2. There's also going to be new trinkets. So there's trinkets that were carried over from the original game, like the Fluffy Tuff, but there's also going to be new trinkets that you can craft some of the trinkets. You can also find new trinkets, but trinkets do exist in Grounded 2. There's also new mutations. So as I mentioned earlier, there are mutations in the game. There's not as many, but there are new mutations that were not in the original game. Unlike in the original game, red ant armor does not stop red soldier ants from being aggressive towards you. However, if you're riding a red soldier ant as a buggy, they will not attack you. So once you unlock that red soldier ant buggy, make sure you use that when you're exploring any of the ant hills, because then you won't have to deal with fighting every single soldier ant that you come across. But I found out the hard way that the red ant armor does not prevent them from attacking you, because I went into the red ant hill with it on, and they immediately started attacking me. Enemies can also block attacks. So this is a new part of the combat. So as I mentioned earlier, there's new combat in the game. So you can still perfect block, and then you have the 3-hit combos and stuff like that. But now enemies can actually block attacks. Some of them will be obvious when they're blocking, like when the orb weavers will pull out their little spider web and putting up a shield. Other ones will get in like a defensive stance, like the red soldier ants, the bombardier beetle, and some of the other bugs that you'll run into. They'll get into like a defensive stance when you're trying to attack them. You can actually break the blocks, but it is a new feature of combat. You can also dash into and away from combat. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. This was a feature that I thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But to be completely honest with you, in the almost 30 hours I played, I've barely used this. I always forget it exists. And I just go about doing combat because it's like, after putting so much time in the original game, I'm so used to the combat of just parry attacks and then follow up by hitting the enemy. So I always forget to dash. So I'm definitely going to try to work on working that into the combat more, but it's definitely cool. You can dash into and away from combat. You can also dash left and right to avoid attacks. There are no scabbies to collect, but there is cosmetic customization. There is no coziness system in the game as of right now, at least not that I've discovered. I've placed down just about, I think, everything you can actually make in the game, and I've not been unlocked coziness level 1 or seen any mention of coziness, so I don't think that's in the game right now. I also don't think there's faction activity, but you will get attacked periodically, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Not going to spoil that too much, but as of right now, I don't think there's faction activity. Now, I have not built all over the map to see if like I'm encroaching on anybody's territory, but I have killed tons of larvae, tons of spiders, tons of most of the creatures in the game, and I've never had a message pop up saying that this faction is angry with me or whatever like that. So I don't think faction activity is in the game right now, but like I said, you will get attacked periodically. So unlike the first game, Grounded 2 does have a cold biome, which you're probably going to have a pretty good idea of what it is because it was showed off in some of the trailers. So there's actually more than one cold biome, but there is a cold biome where you have to deal with the chilling effect, which is similar to the sizzling effect, but instead of getting hot, you'll get cold. And then lastly, there is going to be no custom game mode at launch. So there will be a custom game mode at some point in the future, but at launch, you're going to have to choose between playing regular survival, which has the mild, medium, and low mode difficulties, or you can play creative, which I think it's creative, and then creative with bugs. But custom game mode is not in the game right now. You'll have to wait until sometime in the future for that to be added. All right, so what do I like about Grounded 2 so far? So first and foremost, I can say that the game feels like it's an improvement over the first one in just about every way, which is a compliment. The first game was great all around. The second one feels like, and I expected this, I think it's just going to end up being better than the original. So beyond that, the other big thing is that there is way more content at launch, like I've already talked about several times before. Rather than there being just like an hour or two of story content at best, and then it being a sandbox experience at launch, you're going to have a plethora of content to go through. There's like the first act of the main story. You have lots of side quests, lots of things to unlock, and a huge area to explore. So way, way, way more content. There's lots of secrets, which encourages exploration, just like the first game. In the original Grounded, it was like no matter where you went, you'd end up finding a secret. You're going to get the same thing here in Grounded 2. You need to explore every nook and cranny of the map because you never know when you're going to find something that's just hidden back behind like a leaf or something, or a little hidden cave that's just kind of out of sight. But if you search every little area, you're going to end up finding it. Durability feels less punishing. I can't say for a fact. I haven't been able to look at the code, or nobody's told me this, but the durability feels less punishing. I feel like I'm repairing my gear less often than the first game. That's what it feels like. I can't say for sure, but that's what it feels like, which is a positive to me because, as you all know, durability, if done right, is okay, but a lot of games just punish you for it. So here it feels like it's okay so far. Combat is more interesting. I've seen people saying, I wish the combat, without even having tried it, honestly, saying that they didn't like the rock, paper, scissor combat. It can be annoying if the enemy just goes straight into a block nonstop, but overall the combat just feels more interesting because if you're going to attack an enemy and they just throw a block down, you're like, okay, now I have to wait for them, or I have to break the block because you can break their blocks and stuff like that. So overall, the combat does feel more interesting. Big thing for me here, the acorn turret is much more useful. So I know they buffed the acorn turret over time, but even when the last time I played Grounded and tried the acorn turret, it didn't feel that great with the basic like pebblet rounds you'll put in there. The acorn turret, when you actually get attacked, which I'll talk about in just a second, the acorn turret was like 2 and 3 shotting, 1, 2, or 3 shotting all the mobs that were coming at me, and these weren't just like basic little basic mobs. These were actually like tier 2 mobs, some of them, and I was able to kill them very quickly using the acorn turret, using just the rounds that are made out of the pebblets, and I think it's acid gland. So like the basic ammo for it. So the turrets are much better. The buggy provides extra inventory space, like way more than the pets did in the first game. So I really like that. It makes it so that, especially if you're playing solo, there are lots of resources in the game, just like the first game. You will end up filling up your inventory. But once you get the buggy, which you will get pretty early on, you'll be able to have like basically a double inventory, unless you're playing on low mode. Now, if you're playing on low mode and your buggy dies, I think it's gone. You lose everything. But I think most people play on medium or mild. So if your buggy dies, it just goes back to wherever the nest is you have for it. But use that extra inventory space. The buggy provides faster travel. So again, I'm going to talk about traversal in just a second, but riding on the buggy, it does have a stamina bar, but it runs way faster than you do, and it seems like you can get much further with it, like way further because of the speed, and it feels like it might have more stamina than you, so you can move around much faster using the buggy. Buggies can also help in combat. So the red soldier ant one's not that great, but you can use it in combat, and it'll tear up like the small mobs, like the lawn mites and stuff like that. Or if you just need to kill a weevil or an aphid for food, you can just go over and take them out pretty quickly. So they can help in combat. And then the quests push you to explore most of the map. So the map, like I said, is very large, and you're going to get quests, and it's going to make you go all over the entire map to make you explore the entire thing beyond like the main story. Now for a couple of things I didn't like so far in Grounded 2. First up is going to be buggy teleporting back to the base when entering certain areas. So there's going to be areas you go to where the buggy cannot enter with you. Normally what happens is you get kicked out of the saddle, and your character says a line, something along the lines of, wait here for me, buggy, or something like that. I guess it depends on the character you're on or whatever. And it'll just wait for you when you come back out. There it is. Or you can call it to you later on. However, there were certain occasions where I would enter an area, get kicked off the buggy, and then the buggy was just gone. And then when I would return to my base, there it was sitting in its little nest or house or whatever, waiting to be recalled. So I don't know if that's intentional or if it's a bug, but it's probably going to happen to you at some point, and it's super frustrating, especially if you're really far away or if you end up needing it for something. Next up is going to be, and this is, the developers have said they want a feedback on this, so I'm going to give it. Traversal is too slow even on the buggy, in my opinion. The map is massive right from the start. It's only going to get bigger. I know they said they're going to add zip lines in at some point, but right now traversal feels too slow even on the buggy. Getting from where my base was built to like the outer edges of the map and back, even on the buggy, it felt like it took way too long. And I just think I think we need to be able to get around faster. I have a suggestion for that in addition to the zip lines in just a second. Next is going to be, I just briefly touched upon this, inaccessible areas. So if your buggy teleports back and then you need it to chew through some roots and you can't get to it, now you got to remember to go back to it. So there's going to be inaccessible areas that you have to remember to go back to. You're going to find areas like before you find the buggy or before you have unlocked the ability to make explosives that you're going to need to go back to. And remembering where those are and remember where all of them are is going to be very challenging. I'm going to be honest with you, because I know for a fact right now that there's at least one rock that I need to blow up and I cannot remember where it is. I remember getting to it and I remember getting jump scared by a wolf spider and running away from it. And now I cannot remember where that rock is because it's somewhere on the map and I cannot remember where it is. I've looked for it and looked for it and looked for it and can't find it, but I know I need to blow that up because more likely than not, there's probably like a milk molar or raw science or something hidden behind it. Next up is going to be periodic attacks that can, this is that last thing I disliked was there's going to be periodic attacks that can occur anywhere. So like I said, I don't think there's faction activity, but you will get attacked. And these attacks can happen pretty much anywhere. The first couple times it seemed to happen when I was at where my base was. But other times it happened when I'm literally halfway across the map just coming back or going to somewhere and the clock hits 0 and bam, here comes the attack and you're getting attacked in the middle of a field, sometimes at nighttime. Now, weirdly enough, I know at least one time when I was far away from my base, it said I was going to get attacked and it didn't happen. I don't know if that's because maybe I was in an outpost and they literally could not attack me or something. So I thought, okay, well, the attacks will just happen when I go back to my base, kind of like the faction activity did. That's not the case. They can literally happen anywhere. You can be in the middle of a field and you're just going to get attacked by a group of enemies. So there's a couple of things I dislike. Now let's talk about ways that I think that, or things I would like to see that could address the things that I disliked. So first off is fast travel, or being able to travel faster. I know they said they're going to add zip lines. That's fine. For me personally, I know some of you may disagree with this, but I would really like to see fast travel between the outposts unlocked after completing each area. So when I say each area, if you like do everything in an area and then you've unlocked the outpost and then maybe there's like some certain milestone that you have to complete for the main quest that lets you just fast travel between the outposts. The outposts are scattered around the map pretty judiciously. So it's like if you just had to click on an outpost and go to it, you'd be able to get places you want to get to faster. And I know, like I said, some people just want to be able to have to do everything on foot or have to use zip lines and stuff like that. But I really think it will be helpful. And this is something I wanted in the original game. I wanted to be able to fast travel between the field stations. They added the telepodies later on. There's no telepodies in this game right now. Maybe they'll come in the future. But I would really like to be able to just go into an outpost and then they're be able to fast travel to any other outpost on the map that I've unlocked within an area once you've completed some type of milestone. So that's my suggestion for that. Next up is going to be, I would really like to be able to place permanent map markers for areas I need to go back to. So like the example I just said, when I went to that rock and couldn't figure out how to blow it up, I want to be able to drop a map marker that stays there so that the next time when I come back, load into the game, it's still there and I can remember, oh, I need to go there because I had to blow up that rock, or I had to chew through that root, or there was something there that I didn't complete and I need to go back to it. There was another issue where I needed to chop down mushrooms, but my axe had not been upgraded enough to chop down the mushrooms. So I did remember to go back to there because there was something major along with it that I remembered. I'm like, oh, I know to go back there. There's been several others. Like, that's probably why I haven't found all the milk molars, because they're behind places that I could not reach at the time I went to them. And at the time I did not have a scanner to tell me there was milk molars back there. And then lastly is going to be, I think you should only be rated at your base. So I don't know. I can't necessarily say it's like where your spawn point is, because you can set your spawn point in beds around the map. There's going to be some of the outposts have beds, some of them don't. If you set your bed up in an outpost, obviously you're not gonna be able to get attacked in there. But it would make sense to me that like whatever you dedicate as your base, maybe there's an item you place down like a little flag, like a pole, like a map marker or something, like the little markers, the trail markers. Maybe there's a trail marker that says base marker, and this is the one you designate as this is the base I'm getting attacked at. I think that would be better so that when the clock counts down, if you're not at that base, you know that when you get back to that base, you're going to get attacked pretty quickly. So again, those are just a couple of things I'd like to see going forward that can address a couple of things I disliked. So that's everything I think you need to know to decide whether or not Grounded 2 is worth playing right now. As I said in the intro, I absolutely think it's worth playing right now, especially if you like the first game or if you're just a fan of survival games in general. If you're on the fence about playing it, if you have Game Pass, it's a no-brainer. Just try it out as part of your subscription. If you're thinking about purchasing it, I think right now you're getting $30 worth of content with more to come. They've said that this is only the first act. There's going to be more added on over the next year or two or however long early access is. So you're getting your money's worth right now. You're just going to get extra content on top of that later on. So anyway, if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button. Consider subscribing for more content just like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.